Elections, Prime Minister Modi and other senior BJP leaders released the Lok Sabha Election Manifesto on Sunday, calling it the Sankalp Patra. The document promises to implement the Uniform Civil Code and simultaneous elections across the country. The BJP has also promised to accelerate infrastructure development along the Indo-China, Indo-Pakistan and Indo-Myanmar borders. Early this month, the Congress party released its manifesto called the Nyaya Patra. The party has promised to conduct nationwide caste-based census and fill all posts for scheduled castes, scheduled tribes and backward classes within a year. It's also promised to provide 30 lakh government jobs and give 1 lakh rupees every year to poor youth. The party has also promised to give 1 lakh rupee every year to poor women. CNBC-TV18 Sapna Das joins us now to take us through the promises of both the manifestos. Sapna, map it out for us, the BJP Sankalp Patra versus the Congress's Nyaya Patra.
Absolutely. So first off, if you look at the BJP manifesto, it gives you a sense of continuity rather than any big numbers or any kind of freebie announcements. It talks about making India the third largest economy in the next 5 odd years. Interestingly enough, unlike the earlier manifestos of BJP, it doesn't contain any size of the economy number like a $7 trillion or a $10 trillion or a $5 trillion, so to speak. That's one. Second, it also talks about building India on the base of low inflation and fiscal prudence. So, both are kind of buzzwords, at least at the moment, and looking at what the government has been doing in the last 2 to 3 odd years. Going forward, it talks about making India a global manufacturing hub, a trusted global manufacturing hub, and within that it talks about 2030 dateline for making electronics a global manufacturing hub, railways, aviation, semicons and chips and whatnot. So almost everything under the sun is covered here, EVs and autos. In the infra space, it again doesn't give any specific numbers, but it does talk about new bullet trains, expansion of metros to more cities, expansion of the railway network itself, finishing of the waiting list for passengers, increasing the carrying capacity of passengers so that there is no waiting list by 2030, stuff like that. Very practical on the ground stuff, but no big estimates over here. In terms of the welfareism, kind of a repetition of what they have been saying so far, but nevertheless, extension of the PMGKY, free food grain program, by another 5 odd years. Then, PM Swanidhi, the loan size needs to go up beyond 50 odd thousand rupees. Again, Mudra, doubling the limits of loans to 20 odd lakh rupees. More houses for the poor under the PM Awas Yojana. Again, free Mufts Bijli under the solar program that has been announced by the Prime Minister, stuff like that. So these are announcements which are already made, but a kind of a reiteration over here. Now, if you compare the Congress manifesto, it's pretty different in its approach and the tone and tenor. First, it talks about doubling the size of the economy in 10 years. So there's a clear number here. 1.73 lakh crore is, almost slightly less than 200 lakh crores is the size of the India GDP. They're talking about doubling it over the next 10 odd years, number one. Number two, talks about taking manufacturing from 14% to 20%. So again, there's a specific estimate over here, though of course, these are numbers that have been doing the rounds for quite some time. Third, it talks a lot about job creation. So here it talks about basically, instead of a PLI, it talks about an ELI. So employment-linked incentive schemes for the corporate sector to enhance job creation. Then again, it talks very specifically about taxes. In the sense, it talks about a direct tax code. It talks about revamping GST, bringing in 2.0 GST. Doing away with or rather revamping the current GST laws. It talks about elimination of the angel tax. It also talks about capping the cesses which are in place at the moment. Cesses should be capped at 5 odd % of the gross tax revenue of every year. And for that, they're talking about bringing in a new legislation. So very specific on taxes. And if you look back on the UPA regime, there was a time when a lot of tax announcements had come from the Congress regime, so to speak. Last but not the least, on freebies, it's pretty high. So that goes against the spirit of low inflation and fiscal prudence. Talks about the Mahalakshmi scheme, 1 lakh rupee transfer into women bank accounts. Talks about an urban urban job guarantee scheme, which is big. A lot of other also announcements. So, both are pretty different, but the Congress manifesto probably has some estimates. The BJP manifesto, being the party in power, continuing to be in power, hopefully, it talks more about continuity.
All right, Sapna, appreciate you joining us. No relief yet for